Welcome back to an episode of Kate and Isaiah Living Large. I'm Isaiah.
And I'm Kate. And we are here for part 2 of our, I was going to say back to school, but New Year's special featuring Dr. Mike Pelkey, also my brother-in-law. Hi, Mike.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. And how are you?
Doing good.
And now this episode, we're going to talk about the different weight loss trends, because we all know this is a time of year that people want to hit the ground running, but not too fast, everyone. And really take off weight. It's a New Year's resolution time. Mike, what do you see in your office and in your experience when it comes to that? And I know you'll want to put on the disclaimer you put on last time as well.
So again, nothing that we discuss here should be construed as specific advice to any one individual. And if people do want to start an exercise plan and have not been active, if you're middle-aged, which we'll call 40 and above, and you haven't been active, it's always good to talk to your primary care provider to ensure that you can do so safely without injury.
Perfect. So, there are many different diet and exercise plans out there, and we've had entire episodes about the ones that I've tried and that Isaiah's tried and that friends of ours have tried, including, the Atkins, the keto. Actually, I've never tried keto.
What is it? The chili cleanse diet.
Cleanses, the juice fasts, all, and these things that everybody wants a silver bullet solution. So what is it?
There isn't one.
Oh,
so you gotta remember, again, like we said last week, if you are losing weight, your body's going to try to fight that. So whatever diet you pick is something that's got to stick with. If there was a silver bullet, we'd all be doing it. And that's the thing. If there was any one easy way to lose weight, one foolproof diet, one foolproof exercise plan, then we wouldn't have such a controversy. We wouldn't have so many of them out there. We wouldn't have everybody's got their own little silver bullet. The general advice that we tend to say is, when you are going to lose weight, you do need to restrict calorie. And so a lot of the diets are effective. Some are more effective at the start, some are more effective down the road. But at the end of a year, the trials basically show they're all roughly the same. They all stabilize at some point with weight loss. And the trials all have dropout rates of almost 50% of the people in it. So the most important thing that I say is pick a diet that you can maintain. So one of the problems that people have a tendency to try is they're like, okay, I'm going to do this diet for 2 months. What are you going to do after? You're going to be back to here. So I remember someone saying, so I went to a place and we had water and celery all day for 5 weeks. I said, and you're going to do that for the rest of your life. Well, no. So it's not a helpful diet in any way, shape, or form. So the changes that you make when you choose one, it's got to be something that you can say, I can do this forever. I don't think people always have that mindset. They say, I'm going to try this for a while and see how it works, but I can't stand it because I'm not allowed this, or it's got too much of this food I don't like, but I can do it for a few months. Well, then that's doomed to fail 6 months from now. So there are diets that have been studied that are good for heart health or whatever, but when you're looking for weight loss, you've got to find one. You can create your own. Create the Kate diet. Whatever but the biggest thing would be healthy, balanced with caloric restriction, and that's where a professional dietitian can help a lot. Right. With kind of looking at what you eat and what you tend to really like. And another thing is, we chatted a little bit before, the genetics plays a role. And so some people may try diet A, lose 130 pounds, say, why the heck isn't everybody doing this? This is easy. And somebody else say, it doesn't work at all for me. Well, how you respond to a diet actually is somewhat genetically determined. So yeah, you're going to have 3% of people, a specific caloric, I use that number just kind of off the cuff, a specific calorically restricted diet will do nothing for, and 3% it's the cure, it's the magic bullet, and the 90 some odd percent in the middle. It's effective, but it's not still the magic bullet, so to speak.
And so there are a couple of, like you say, every diet will work if it's calorie restrictions in versus out, right? Calories in versus calories out. Is that a
Once to a degree, but remember, as you start to, this is where it gets a little complicated, but as you start to lose weight, you have a whole host of hormones from the gut and the brain that start to kick in, that start to tweak with your mind. You don't even know it. You start to move a little less, or there's a little more on your plate. So you say, I'm sticking with my diet, but there will be a plateauing effect. And so pretty much in again, there's people out there listening that say, well, I did Atkins and I lost 170 pounds, never gained it back. Great. You're one of the lucky few. So, but yeah, it's, if you find that you've done something and you've dropped down in weight and now you're plateauing, you'll have to, that's probably diet's not going to just keep giving you more and more and more weight loss a year later.
When you, as a medical professional, when you see people saying they're trying more of the fad diets that really either completely eliminate certain food groups or that sort of thing, like keto is a great example, especially when the way some people treat keto and then it's all bacon and cheese. Is that concerning for you, or does it matter? Like,
well, yeah. So, I mean, if you start to get to a point where you're restricting a nutrient that you need, and you need supplement, or you're going to create a new health problem. We won't get too much into keto today because that is a hot topic. But that's being studied. Is it effective for weight loss? Yes. Does it have changes into your biochemistry, so to speak, like cholesterol profile? Again, it depends how you do. So yeah, if you're saying, oh, I'm not eating the bun on my burger and I'm just eating burger and bacon and no carbs, then you are going to have changes in your cholesterol parameters that may counteract kind of what you're doing. So I mean, if somebody comes in and say they're doing a program, Janet Gregor, Weight Watchers, whatever, or they're coming in and they're doing, a well-known diet, and they're trying to follow it, I don't generally say, you're let's change that. No, if someone comes in and says, I only eat carrots on Monday and I won't have anything until Wednesday that's got any sugar, and then I say, this is not something you're stick with, we should probably reevaluate that. And it's certainly if something is a diet that's going to cause physical harm, I'm sure I can come up with an example, but again, missing a major form of nutrition that you're going to need to supplement a vitamin or mineral, then no, though that's not a good thing either.
No. And then the other one that has been very popular as of late is like the intermittent fasting.
Yeah. So a lot of the stuff right now is trying to base on when is your body going to burn fat versus burn sugar. So when is the best time to exercise? When is the best time to eat? What is the best thing to eat? And again, I honestly think that the body eventually is going to be too smart to fool in those ways. So intermittent fasting is trying to restrict your caloric intake by just limiting the time that you eat, and you try to time it so that your body, when you're eating, or mainly outside of it, your body is trying to burn kind of fat instead of sugar. So, but everything can be fooled up, and there's certainly nothing wrong with intermittent fasting. I don't have an issue with it, as long as it's done safely. And it's always good to run these things by somebody, like a dietitian who really understands. Right? You don't want to severely calorically restrict yourself because can fail, right? It's, you can't starve yourself. And if anybody out there, and if you guys either have lost up to 15-20% of your body weight fairly quickly, you can recall the hunger that goes along with that. It stops feeling good about weight loss, and it feels like, okay, so you got to do something that's not doomed to fail.
Yeah. You've talked a little bit about plateauing. In your world, do you typically see a lot of people like fall out once they plateau?
Oh yeah. That's that's the whole reason why weight loss is not an easy thing, right? The plateau is actually not a failure. Once you get there, it's, success. If you've lost 50 pounds, and again, it goes back to what we talked about, kind of reasonable expectations. If you've lost 50 pounds and now you plateau, that's, some people say, oh, I haven't lost any more. This isn't working. So no, it's worked well. You've lost 50 pounds. Your joints are very happy about that. Your metabolism is happy about that. And there's some reasons with that. And I'll get into that here in a minute. But I mean, I know some of my dietitian colleagues actually have like 10 pounds of kind of stuff that's about the same density of fat in their office. So when you pick it up, you say, that's 10 pounds. You lost 5. And I think, holy crap, it's amazing how much that actually is when it's distributed out throughout your body. But what you got to remember is going back to high school physics, right? The more mass that you move uses more calorie over the same distance than less mass. So as you lose weight, you start to have less impact from some of the stuff you're doing. Let's say going for a walk, you're moving less weight for that whole length of walk. So what people have a tendency not to do is say, okay, I'm doing my 150 minutes a week and now I'm plateaued. Well, if you want to lose more, you're going to have to change the diet. If you don't want to come back, you're going to have to go to 200 minutes a week. And I think newer guidelines are going to come out that 150 minutes is going to be left in our rear view mirror. So you do actually have to change as your weight changes too. And yes, people get to that plateau and get frustrated. And I don't know the exact number, but I believe what comes to my mind is 97% of people will then have a rebound at that point. So yeah, it's the norm. It's common. And it's very hard to, as someone who's lost weight and then put it back on knowing this, it is still hard to take that and kind of, run with it and say, good, that's been successful.
Yeah, I'm
100%
staying the same, and I'm still obese.
That's right.
This is a success, though, Mike said.
Yeah, and again, when you try to, you've almost got to let your body reprogram to say, okay, this 10% of body weight that I lost didn't kill me.
Right.
But the problem is that you will redefend the weight that you've been at before. It's what your body wants to go back to. So when you gain weight, it's not just the fat cells get bigger, you get more of them. And when you lose weight, you lose the fat in them, but you don't kill them off. They stick around there. So you always are trying to redefend that highest weight that you went to. And it takes a while for your body to recognize that, hey, that 10% of body weight I lost is not, it's actually good for me, not bad for me.
Right. There's because we all know we love the internet, and it tells us everything we need to know about weight loss.
Yes, exactly.
More than you need to know about weight loss.
There's it's called set point theory, where you have to change the set point of what your weight is. Is that a real thing?
Again, I haven't read what the internet has to say about it, but basically, yeah, I mean, your body has a set point that it's trying to defend. And that's actually probably, if we want to talk about what is the best management of obesity, is to never have it in the right?
Oh, shucks.
No, so that's why we try to target now the generations that are coming up, because if the weight's never on there, then and you don't have to lose it. Losing and maintaining the weight is much harder, so you will have a tendency to try to defend, is what they use in the literature. Defend the weight you were at. Your body says, "Hey, we've got some storage here. We're ready for famine." You want to defend back to that. Now, a lot of medications that people look at as their way to set a lower set point so that your body defends a lower one. Well, again, unfortunately, if it was as straightforward as a one thing, right? If it was only a set point change, then again, it would be easy to figure out and everybody would have less weight. So it's only part of a mix of what we discuss. And so, that's weird, because unfortunately sometimes what the internet does is takes a little dollop of truth and tries to smear it across the whole page.
Yeah.
But
now, when we were on our break from recording these 2 episodes, because surprise, we record 2 at once, even though you're seeing them a week apart, we had an interesting discussion that I think a lot of people would be interested in, especially any regular viewers of this podcast, because as we know, we started this podcast about a year ago. And I had one set goal of losing 40 pounds before my 40th birthday, which I had done. And then I think I lost about 55 or so overall. And then, as discussed on this podcast, I changed jobs at the end of September. So for me, that meant that my exercise routine disappeared. In the beginning, my food habits didn't change. I will say over Christmas break, they definitely did. My mom bakes really well. My sister cooks really good food. It's really just unfair.
The curse of the holidays.
But up until that point, like my food habits hadn't really changed, but I had stopped exercising in any real way. And I miss it for my mental health. I miss it for, I liked the community that I had built at the Afterburn gym. And I it became a real part of the routine. And I've noticed weight has started to creep back on, which is discouraging because I feel like, oh man, I'm almost and I don't know because I haven't weighed myself, but I feel like my knees feel and my back feels like I'm at nearly the same point that I was when I started this whole ordeal last year. So you had said something out on the break. Why don't you tell our listeners what that was?
So repeatedly what we have found clinically is that exercise is not how you lose weight. And in fact, I think some lovely little studies have shown that if you increase your steps per day by 2,000, then at the end of the year, you're looking at 2 to 3 pounds of weight loss with exercise. So weight loss is very clearly a caloric intake part. Yes, I mean, we can talk medication, talk surgery, but I'm talking about the lifestyle things. But the problem is that weight regain is not diet related. Weight regain is generally exercise related. And I don't mean exercise like going to the gym, which is obviously, I mean, the benefits of exercise go way beyond weight maintenance, heart health and mental health, joint health. I mean, you can't, we're meant to be active. But activity of any type. So a lot of times people will come in and they'll say, like, I gained this pound. They all this weight and I don't know what's changed. I haven't changed my diet at all. They're worried that there's some other condition going on, but we can always tend to find the injury that kept them from the gym, or, they live in a different place and now they don't have the walking path as easy that they had before, or they went from a more frontline active job to a more like a desk related job. And so even that degree of activity change, that's where most of the time you'll find weight will regain. And I think if a lot of people are sitting here thinking, okay, yeah, I remember gaining weight, look back and you might find in a lot of cases, activity or exercise or both, a change for whatever happened. So the thing is, you start back up to exercising, doesn't mean all that weight goes back off. It's again a dietary thing that'll take the weight back off. It's almost again physiologically, this is probably a very simplified way of saying it, but kind of consider it as exercise is what tells your body that this weight loss is safe. Remember, we say weight loss ultimately will be a fatal event if it doesn't stop, so your body defends it. But exercise kind of gives a bit of a physiologic signal that, no, this is okay, this is safe, and we don't need to put all that back on. When you take the exercise away, the body seems to find a way to put the weight back on.
Now is our chance.
So it is very much a combination. And unfortunately, this probably get a lot of people upset at me, but it's true. This is right out of clinical trials. When we carry a little extra in the middle, and I'm guilty myself, we underestimate the amount we eat and we overestimate the amount of activity that we do when they define it. Even when they almost watch people, sit back and watch people go through their day-to-day things and get them to say, how much did you eat or what did you eat? There's still, no matter how honest people want to be, it's not a malicious thing, or I got to hide the jujubes, but it's just, we tend to under and overestimate. So exercise, for example, isn't just measured in minutes, because if you go for an hour walk and you walk a kilometer, that's really, not a huge amount of exercise. But if you've not walked before and you do a kilometer and you get home, then you should feel great about yourself too. So the thing is that it's hard to measure kind of, that impact. And eventually, you know, then 2 kilometers gets easier and 3 kilometers gets easier. Or that 1 kilometer takes you 15 minutes eventually instead of an hour. And so you work your way up to it. But you'll find oftentimes it'll be a change back from that, or the weight will come back on.
Yeah, so that makes sense. That like as you're losing weight, you have to also like look at increasing the amount of exercise that you're doing, not necessarily changing your diet that you're doing, but the exercise point. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, we would say 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity exercise, and moderate intensity exercise is 70% of your target heart rate, which is 220 minus your age. If you're any mathematical person out there, to me, the way I tend to say it is, so exercise is when you're doing it and you're breathing a little bit like this, and it's a bit hard to have a conversation. That to me is a reasonable moderate activity level. Now, for somebody that's been active all their life, that may be a jog. For somebody who's just starting exercise, that could be a walk. But that's the important thing is you want to push yourself a little bit. If you say, I'm going to go swimming, and you do 5 laps in 2 hours and you never break a sweat, then okay, that's a great start. But you do want to push from that a little. And so eventually, as your weight comes down, the recommendations go to 200 and 300 minutes a week, because with the weight loss, just the efficacy of it.
That makes sense. That's kind of where that plateau kind of comes from, right?
Yeah.
When you're pushing, 300 or 400 pounds around, that's a lot of effort just to exist in life. But when you're pushing 150 or, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, you'll burn half as many calories when you walk a kilometer at 150 than versus 300 pounds.
Right.
You'll double your, but again, I mean, it's probably not as simple as that. But but it basically is.
For this lovely internet show, that's as simple as we'll get.
Yeah. Right, Zay and I, that's about our level.
Did you have any other questions you wanted to ask Caitlin before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. I still want to know the answer to the silver bullet solution.
Yeah, no, I'd like that. Okay, if we could get on that real quick.
We want to get rich here.
I would say if there was a single silver bullet medication, diet, or exercise plan that guaranteed weight loss to a normal BMI for whatever it's worth, without any hardship and no weight regain, then that person is a multi-trillionaire.
Yeah.
It's just, and unfortunately, God or Mother Nature, whichever way you look at it, has not designed us to be that simple. We are more complicated.
I guess we have to be complicated then.
I don't like it.
Like Avril Lavigne said.
Do you have any final words you'd like to say to the people before we sign off?
Well, I would just say if you're online and somebody is selling a magic bullet, take that with a big grain of salt. You give it a try, but I have yet to see a one size fits all weight reduction plan. It's a lot of work, but the big thing I say to people when they come in is that if it was easy, you wouldn't be here. And therefore, it's not going to be an easy thing. Let's set realistic expectations of what you can live with, and work your way up. So the lifestyle is important, and congratulations when you start exercising, but keep pushing yourself, and work with your family doctor, with your dietitian. But ultimately, there's no simple fix, and the frustration is something just to be kind of aware of. I have yet to see very many people not be frustrated with their attempts to lose weight, myself included.
I think that's a great message for us going into the new year with all of our resolutions. That you're going to be frustrated, and it's okay to be frustrated.
But don't give up. You can be successful, right? Like I think I look back at what I've been saying the last half hour and think of some people say, I can't work. I'm done. No, don't do that. The health benefits are certainly there, and continue to work with it. This is like quitting smoking. If you falter, that doesn't mean you should just, you keep trying. So it's the same type of thing. Keep at it. The health benefits are there.
And acknowledge the wins. And, 10 pounds is 10 pounds gone. Even if it feels like you should be losing 60, 10 pounds is better than no pounds.
Yep.
Is that fair?
That is fair. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I think this is a great episodes. Thank you very much for coming and talking to us. And Caitlin, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Fat Caitlin on TikTok. That I haven't updated in 6 months. They can find me at the Caitlin Dean on X. They can find me on Facebook, Caitlin Dean, Instagram at KD or Kated. And then we can find our podcast at Kate and Isaiah Living Large. And what about you, Isaiah?
And I am at Maritime Brews on all of the social medias. And yeah, thanks for coming again. We definitely appreciate it.
So appreciate it. And Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll start this year off strong.
Yep.
Without that, bye.
Bye.